Okay, so we are recording now. Welcome to Group 3, Waste and Consumption, and thank you for your patience with our workaround breakout group system. My name is Evan Brumfield, and we also have Brian Husmillo here. We are both facilitators for this breakout session. We also have Trish Bluer here. She will be taking notes. She will provide a report out to the rest of the group at the end of our session. This meeting is being recorded so we can review to develop our recommendations for the city and community following this convening. So before we get started, I just wanted to remind people to use the chat to say if you have a comment. And please be sure to mute yourself when you are not talking. I will be calling on people in order from the chat box that you, letting me know that you have a comment, or Brian. So we're a much smaller group than this full convening, and so I'm hoping that everyone gets a chance to provide their input. I'll also encourage you to use video for this session. If you're calling in and are able to access the chat, you can press *3 to raise your hand, and I will unmute you. So first we're going to go around with a quick round of introductions. When I call on you, please say your name and whether you live or work in Issaquah and are from one of our partner organizations. So we'll call on you as we go down, just from the top down. So I'll start. My name is Evan Brumfield. I work for the City of Issaquah in their Public Works Engineering Department. I've worked for the city for 12 years, both in operations in their stormwater group, and the last 5 or 6 years over at engineering, managing kind of our stormwater permit and other environmental compliance programs. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. Good morning. My name is Brian Husmillo. I've been with the city for only a little over a year now. Prior to the city, I came over from King County Industrial Waste, dealing with industrial waste and discharges that big companies such as Boeing discharge into our municipal wastewater system. And my current role with Issaquah is primarily dealing with stormwater and pollution prevention measures for businesses that are located within the city.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add is that due to COVID budget impacts, we've laid off a lot of our solid waste staff, and so Brian and I are the two staff that will primarily be responsible for kind of going forward with our solid waste, working with Recology on our education outreach programs and managing the contract and all that. So Amber, would you like to go please unmute yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amber Nicholson. I'm the Sustainability Director at Bellevue College. So I neither live nor work in Issaquah, but I was invited to attend today by Megan.
All right, thanks, Amber. Candice, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I am not really in Issaquah, but with an Issaquah address. I'm an unincorporated King County, and I'm a retired physician. I'm a member of People for Climate Action and Citizens for Climate, Citizens Climate Community.
All right, thank you. Connie?
Well, I'm a long-time environmental activist with the city. I'm currently president of the Issaquah Environmental Council. And in this, probably more importantly, I'm a longtime antique dealer. So I am totally seeped in the concept of reuse, which I think that's why I chose this as a particular topic.
All right, thank you. Gwen?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Yes. So I'm Gwen Money. I live in Issaquah. I've been here. I'm in Old Town for almost 12 years now. I've worked in public health research, and I have longtime interests in nature and health and the environment, as well as use issues.
All right. Thank you. Lisa? Lisa Blanchard.
Hi there. I'll take this off so you can see my face. My name is Lisa Blanchard, and I am the Environmental Director of Global Sustainability and Compliance at Costco. So I don't live in Issaquah, but I spend a lot of time here at work.
All right, thank you. Linda Peters.
Hello. I live in Issaquah, and I'm part of the People for Climate Action Issaquah. And formerly, I worked in environmental management for the County of Hawaii and ran their zero waste program on that island.
All right, thank you. Malina.
Hello, I'm Malina Thang. I neither work nor live in Issaquah. I work for the Cascade Water Alliance, so we're a partner agency with the City of Issaquah. We provide them with water. But many years ago, I spent about 8 years doing solid waste planning for the City of Seattle.
All right. And Robin. Oh, looks like it got moved around here. Trish, go ahead, Trish.
Hi, my name's Trish Bloor. I'm a long-term Issaquah resident and am active in the Issaquah chapter of People for Climate Action. And I'll be taking notes today. So you're going to have to be nice to me because I did not, no one's asked me if I could type fast. Okay, I just volunteered. So, okay.
Well, thank you, Trish. Okay, so we're gonna get started here, and I'll start with this first question.
Oh, sorry, we forgot Robin.
Oh, we did forget Robin. Okay, Robin, go ahead. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
And Karen, we didn't get Karen from.
Oh, okay. Yep, I see that now. Okay, Robin, go ahead.
So it looks like when I'm looking at Robin's profile, it says like there's low bandwidth, so
okay.
She might be having some connectivity issues. So we can go over to. So I'm sorry, it was Karen.
Okay, let's Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm with Cedar Grove. I'm the Director of Public Affairs. While I don't live in Issaquah, I live in rural King County, and so Issaquah is our closest shopping. So I spend lots of money there at getting groceries and taking my kids to the movies. So we've lived in the area for 20 years, and like I said, most our primary base of getting groceries, et cetera, is Issaquah. So I work for Cedar Grove. I've been there for 10 years, and we have a facility very close to Issaquah on Cedar Grove Road in rural King County, unincorporated King County.
All right, thank you.
And you know, somebody, one of us, Connie, do you want to give, if Robin can't talk, do you want to do a little short bio for her? Or I can do it. I'll do it. Okay, Robin Kelly is the executive director of FISH, which is the nonprofit that runs our fish hatchery. I hope I got that right.
Yes, Friends of Issaquah Salmon Hatchery.
Thank you.
Is the acronym, yeah. And just as FYI, I've turned off my video just to make sure I can keep connected to this conversation. So I'll turn it on periodically if I notice that I can. Okay, so let's get into the kind of the discussion, the meat of this. So question 1, what are 3 to 4 of the most important kinds of things for the city, residents, and businesses to be doing in Issaquah to address climate change? And looks like, Trish, you're sharing your screen. And so we can maybe, are you going to share the question?
Oh, you're muted, Patricia.
Thanks. I have to go find it.
Okay.
The document, but you go ahead and start.
Yeah, so you know, we're just facilitating, you know, the conversation. So if anything really jumps out at anyone here, please feel to speak up.
And again, if you have a comment, just leave it in the comment box, and then we will call on you.
This is Gwen. I don't see the comment box. There's a notes box, but I don't have a chat box option.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm looking for it, but I can't find it.
Oh, really?
So if you're on your computer, if you go to the bottom middle portion of the screen,
right,
and it looks like a sticky note, just kind of hover over that and click, and then there'll be a notes tab on the bottom right hand side.
Right, there's
That's not
notes, but nowhere to enter it.
You know, just for the sake of time, and if you want to just go ahead and tell me your question, and I can go ahead and type it in the notes so that we have a way to track that.
I'm going to interrupt. It looks like there's a cursor at the top.
It might be different for everyone, but
yeah, it depends how everybody's set up on their individual computer. Yeah.
Okay, so let's not worry about that then. If you have a comment or something, we'll figure it out. So let's get this started. Do you want me to reread that question, or it looks like you can just read it on the screen here?
Could I do a sound check? This is Robin Kelly. I was kicked out and I'm back in, I think.
Yes, hi, Robin. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so what are 3 to 4 of the most important kinds of things for the city residents and businesses to be doing in Issaquah to address climate change? So maybe if, to kind of get this going, is if you're part of an organization that is doing things, maybe what is your organization doing to address those climate change, and maybe something that the city could potentially adopt?
And this doesn't have to have anything to do with waste and consumption. This is just our more generic topics.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, thanks, Trish. This is we'll have our waste and consumption breakout later. This is more just kind of generic climate change discussion, overarching.
I'll start it out by saying we need to make really good revisions to Title 16 and Title 18. And maybe people don't know what that means. So I'll let you guys, Brian, and you guys explain.
So with Title 16, there's many different sections of that. So we have our flood code, we have our stormwater code. Is that what you are referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. So so we're actually just going through right now our flood amendments with and we can talk about that. Well, I don't need to necessarily talk about during this, but we're going through with our flood code changes right now. Most likely we will in the future be readdressing that. Right now we're just going through just the mandatory updates. And then we have our stormwater code as part of Title 16, which we address for our MPDS stormwater requirements. And that is something that will be coming up in the next couple of years as well. And Title 18 is our like critical areas code. That's not in Brian and I's department. That's handled through our formerly called Development Services Department, now CPD, or I believe something like that. So that's what Trish is referring to.
Well, and just as an example, Title 16 doesn't have a lot of mandatory green building code written into it, correct?
I am unaware of that as it pertains to flood or stormwater.
Okay.
So that
I bet Connie can answer that question. Connie?
This is Connie. So we have very little green building built into any of our codes. We have instead used sort of this overlaying conversation about trying to nudge people toward green building. So I don't think it's in anywhere and needs to be in all.
Okay. Thank you.
We have it in some of our development agreements as specific things.
Okay, so yeah, definitely potentially looking at code is definitely a big thing, and strengthening our code and making it more prescriptive to what is actually where our requirements are.
This is Connie to make a comment. I put question in my box, but nobody seems to be able to see it, so I'm just breaking it. Education, I think we need to make the responsibility for climate change clear and evident to all people who live in Issaquah in order to change behavior, because it's everybody. It's not just a municipality or a business.
And I want to add to that, even if it means people have to incur some expense, I think people have to realize there might be a little pain associated with the very, very important long-term gain. Is everybody okay with that? I mean, like if we have to charge more for picking up, curbside stuff instead of it going into compost or something like that.
Yeah.
I agree. This is Robin Kelly. That's very important for us at the hatchery too, the floods and people being responsible, more responsible than they have been. We're not setting the standard high enough, and we're not holding citizens accountable for it. I mean, I still get styrofoam from restaurants.
Yeah.
So we say the right things often, but we don't have the teeth or the capacity or the will or whatever to really insist that they're followed.
I want to add that it's really important to get the young people involved at a young age, and because they're going to be the future policymakers and city employees, and it's going to be their world that we've screwed up if we don't make changes.
Well, and I think the education, those overlap 2 and 4.
Right, they do. I'll clean this up after we get off. Yeah.
Sure. That was just a comment.
I agree, they do overlap, but
would
also we need young people to be more involved than just on education, making the change happen.
Right. It's
item I'd like to add would be electrification and moving towards renewable energies. I know that I believe City of Issaquah did sign on to the Green Direct program, but really ensuring that electrification is a front of mind when it comes to new buildings.
And, because we all have different views from our laptops, can people identify themselves? I'm always curious who's saying what. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Who just said the thing about renewable energy?
Amber Nicholson.
Okay, thank you, Amber.
This is Candice Smith.
Are you keeping track of time, Evan and Brian? I mean, how much time we have for each question and all that?
Yeah, so we do have until 12:20 for this particular breakout session. Yes, we will.
Okay.
We'll try and get this moving along to some of the other
Okay.
questions as well.
Okay, I interrupted somebody. Sorry.
Candice, go ahead. You had a comment? Candice, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. A subgroup of our organization, People for Climate Action, has been working very hard on action priorities for cities. And it's broken down into multiple actions with the highest chance of decreasing emissions to medium to low reduction. And these are, I think in terms of working with the city and city policy, we need to look at some of these things with the highest ability to lower emissions, and mostly in the area of transportation and buildings, because that's our biggest emitter. Those are our biggest emitters. And there are lots of actions around energy reduction, energy use reduction in buildings, commercial and residential, and other things about transportation in terms of transportation demand management and commute trip reductions and all that kind of stuff.
So Candice, this is Trish. I think what you're saying is that there's been this group of subject matter experts, so to speak, that have spent a lot of time and energy. And I know I've seen that spreadsheet. So will that be shared with a wider audience? I mean, so people can.
It's been turned into the K4C toolkit group, all except for the last set of actions. There are 12 different areas, and 10 of them have been completed. They're most significant in terms of reducing greenhouse gas. And
Great.
Okay, so
We'll just go.
wait,
Sorry.
this is Connie again. Can I just build on that last bit?
Yes, go ahead. And then I think Gwen had a comment, and then we'll move on to the
sorry.
next question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Connie.
Right now, the City of Issaquah is doing a master mobility plan, and its first draft just came to the City Council, and it is conspicuously deficit on clear climate change policy, or even including it in how we should build our future. So we need to make sure that this, not just in number one, could be the master mobility plan 2, and then the one that they just talked about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Gwen, did you have a comment? I thought I saw you raising your hand.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry about that. Can I just add 3 quick items here?
Please.
Be quick. I was building on what's been said about education and youth. I really think it's education and activation. And again, working through the schools to do so. They have volunteer requirements. So I think that would be a pillar across the board for any initiative. And then also my initial thoughts on the broader goals would again be preserving and restoring green space and connectivity across green spaces and wild spaces. And then also equitable access to local food and farm sources. And I continue to build on those connections, both through schools and through businesses.
Did I get everything, Gwen?
Yes.
Okay.
The connectivity, I think, around the green spaces, I think.
Okay, connectivity. Okay, got it.
Yeah, for mobility and use.
You mean like the green necklace that we've been talking about?
Like that, and yes, absolutely. And then into wildlands even.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we have about 8 minutes left. We're going to move forward with our discussion topics, unless anyone else had something that they wanted to get in before we move on.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so I guess I'll go and take this. Second question is, how bold does Issaquah need to be in their actions to address climate change, and what trade-offs should be considered? We have several options, which include A, business as usual, B, go with the flow of the region, or C, be ahead of the flow as regional leaders.
As note taker, I got to put in my opinion.
Sure. And so Trish, what is that, playing kind of devil's advocate here, what does that look like and mean to you as a regional leader?
Well, and Connie, please jump in and add or correct anything I'm going to say, but I believe that Issaquah's been an environmental leader for a long time, and I think there's going to be increased pressure for development out in the suburbs, and we need to get those changes into our code so that with increased development we make sure everything is built according to good green code and then good land use management. So I mean, and we've discussed this in our local PCA group. It needs to be a real high priority to get code changed, because until code is changed, am I right, Connie, that developers, all they have to do is follow the current code, even if we don't like the current code, right?
That's right, because that's the law, right? So
right.
I'm gonna bounce on that with an example. We did a Z home not too long ago that was supposed to become the template for green building in Issaquah, and it never became anything but itself. And now that technology has passed. So the city put a lot of investment in it, yet was never able to follow through. And we were ahead of the curve for a split second, and now we're sort of behind the curve instead. Bag ban, for example, ahead of the curve, but now with COVID, we're behind the curve. The food packaging situation, we've never really implemented it. When we are looking at our storm water and flood stuff, we can do more, but we choose not to, even when we have the flexibility to do so. So we have to be insistent and persistent that we want to be ahead and not just do the minimum, because Issaquah is better than that. Okay, I proselytized again. Sorry.
Okay, did I capture everything okay, Connie? Okay.
Oh, Connie, you're
muted.
Sorry. Insistent, persistent, and ahead. Ahead.
Okay.
We want to emphasize ahead.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, any more comments on this?
Just agreeing that the waiting is over. You know, this is the, then I think Issaquah.
We don't have time. Yeah.
Yeah, has to be, some of it's going to be painful, and it's going to have to, businesses are going to have to be accountable, and some people are going to complain and not like it. So politicians are going to have a hard time dealing with that. But, you know, our future and our children's futures are at stake. So we got to make the tough choices, the right choices.
And I think with the results of COVID being such a reduction of the city budget, we're going to need to think of ways for as bold as possible, make a little bit of sacrifice, and hopefully not through sales taxes.
Hi, this is Lisa from Costco. And I may regret saying this, but I feel like the city does need to look to their the big business that are here in town to lead by example. And if things get tough, partner with the businesses and see what we can do to influence the smaller businesses and sort of act as a mentor to them in reducing our waste and reducing any of our stormwater pollution, all of our impacts here on the city. We have a responsibility, and I think that we would benefit from a partnership between the bigger businesses and the city.
I think that's great.
I think also, if I could add, I agree with all of these bullets, but I think that we need to be really clear when we say that there have to be rules and compliance, not suggestions. Because I often see that with building, when we're surprised that something that was supposed to be, say, mixed use turns into only residential. Well, how did that happen? And what I would hear back from administration was that they suggested they might do that, but they were only required to do something else. And that's what Connie mentioned earlier. But I think we need to keep saying it, that if we're serious about this, then it has to be a requirement, not it would be nice if you would situation.
Thank you. So real quick, I'm sorry, we've got just a couple of minutes left. I want to make sure that we'll be coming back to our second breakout session, but I at least want to get this out there in case we can table it for a while until we come back to our second one. So the last question is I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I forgot there's another question. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so the third question is, in what ways can we, as attendees, organizations, businesses, cities, collaborate to help address the climate change challenge?
And we have, just so everyone knows, sorry, we have about 2 minutes for this question, and then we'll have to join that meeting again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, and this is Trish, and I do think we've covered some of the answers for this question above. So when I turn in the notes, I'll make note of that.
Okay.
But if anybody has anything new that they want to say, but there's a lot of overlap, I think. Yeah.
Right. This is Connie. Attendees, organization, businesses, and I guess you got to say community at large there, because really it's going to be the community at large that drives all of those things. The city council is not going to vote hardship upon themselves or businesses unless they feel like that is the community will. And so the ability to create a large collaboration is the biggest climate change challenge. If you can conquer that nut, which is basically the question itself, then we're going to get somewhere. If we do not conquer that nut, we will stay in the same spot. So we need a paradigm shift so that the council and everyone in town is very clear that this is the pathway that we need to take. Now, if you have Costco saying it's a go, great. REI, great. Can you get the retail centers and all of the businesses, Chamber of Commerce on board with the same pathway, then we get somewhere. How do you create that community conversation? We're starting it, but it needs to go forth, and then you need to be able to figure out how to gather all of that together and present it as a power to city council so they can do the right thing.
Yeah. Thank you. So we are out of time right now. We apologize. It took a little bit for us to kind of work the kinks out, but if there's anyone else that has more to say, we can go over that, really quick during our second breakout session. So